Welcome to the Strategic Insight Podcast. I'm your host today, Andrew Mackel with Strategic Information Group. Today we'll be covering a part of our series on thought leadership and guidance. We're lucky enough to be joined today by Jennifer Petrosky. She is the Life Science Director for QAD. And in my role, of course, I have the pleasure of working with Jennifer a good deal due to the fact that more than half of our customers are life science vertical clients. Jennifer, welcome today.
Thank you, Andrew. It's great to be with you.
You know, I appreciate you taking the time because I think it's important as we go through all the verticals that QAD covers to give you some time. And as we get close to, of course, the user group season and discussions on where things are going, I thought it was a great time for us to connect and to have everybody get a little more background on you and what your role is at QAD and how you can help customers and or prospective clients that are life science and looking at QAD.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Andrew. It's great to be with you and happy to always share with our community. We have a very strong and active community within the life sciences space. So I'm always excited to get in front of folks and share my perspective and also just listen and learn to folks too. So one of the key takeaways I'm hoping from our discussion is for folks to reach out, right? If we're not connected, please connect with me. Follow me on LinkedIn and other social places where I'm active. And yeah, let's stay connected and would love to, keep the correspondence going from here.
Absolutely. Our network is key to the success in growth and use of the products that we're using. Jennifer, can you give us a little bit of background of yourself and your position at QAD and how you help support and guide clients?
Yes. Yeah, so I'm the Life Sciences Director at QAD. I joined QAD October of 2020, so almost 3 years now. And I'm responsible for go-to-market, product strategy, marketing, sales, and customer support for life sciences, one of our most strategic industries at QAD. As you know, we cover multiple verticals, but life science has been a key focus for QAD and continues to be a key focus. So yeah, we have over 450, probably more now, GMP regulated sites live on QAD solutions today. So I'm busy, working with these customers to understand, how they're using the products, but how can we improve our products to make them even more effective, make them even more agile, right? As things change in our market, as we know, right? There's a lot of change is the new constant, right? And how do we help build their operations, for that resilience, keeping that resilience in mind. So yeah, it's been great getting to know a number of our customers over the years, but I certainly look forward to learning more about them.
Absolutely. Who's our visitor I heard in the background?
Yes, thank you, buddy. He wanted to say hi.
No, we always like to have those extra little sound bits to make sure people understand these things are authentic, right? We don't know. I don't need my doodle jumping in my lap during the meeting, but it is always fun to add that little quip in. Now, you notice you said, of course, helping with product direction and strategy. When you're talking to executives out there right now, what are you seeing as the primary questions that are coming up now that we're in that I want to say post-COVID world, but now that supply chains are somewhat getting back and things are picking up again, what are the hot topics that you're encountering?
Yeah, it's certainly, the quote unquote post, pandemic era, but, as I mentioned, change seems to be the new constant in our space. And you're even hearing some of the, supply chain disruptions, still lingering. But integration of solutions, I think, is key, right? As they look for more visibility in their supply chain, as they look for more, enhanced collaboration and transparency, understanding where the bottlenecks are, so that visibility across the ecosystem remains critical, and how they can drive that collaboration and communication to understand, where some of those bottlenecks are today, right? Cost pressures, I would say, is another thing that is on, top of mind as we think about, inflationary pressures that are still around, but also, regulatory, pressures that are there. We're seeing some new things come from the administration around patent expirations and drug price controls. So cost pressures are certainly top of mind. So, with these disruptions in mind, cost pressures in mind, not to mention the labor market, right? We still have workforce shortages, gaps in talent. So automation of those solutions are key as well, right? How do we automate those business processes to really drive that visibility across the organization? So those are I would say, are the big, um, you know, challenges that folks continue to navigate around today. So just being able to be responsive when those disruptions come in, right? And be able to pivot when you need to make a change. If you have an expansion or a new, demand coming in, how are you going to be able to expand that product line to keep up with capacity or keep up with those demands? Um, if you think about the life sciences space, right, there is still an increase in demand for our products, right? We have an aging population that wants to remain healthy, right? I think I saw a report recently that talked about the rise in medical device, implants because of the new pickleball, right? Everybody wants to play pickleball now. It's all the rage. So we're seeing an increase in elbow and knee implant surgeries are back on the rise. So it's insurance companies are telling us to slow down a little bit. But no, there's no shortage of demand for sure. And just trying to monitor, where those demands are coming from, whether it's US or Europe or Asia, and being able to match that capacity with that demand is very important. So again, that I think agility, right, I think is a key word, and responsiveness are key when it comes to being able to leverage our solutions and get products out the door when we need them.
Absolutely. You covered, because obviously we deal with a lot of the life science accounts in North America as well as globally in the partner space for QAD, which you, of course, are instrumental in helping us maintain and grow. You noted a number of things that I see, right? So you're talking about, real-time access to data, automation, demand. All of these things are the problems you run into, or the things you got to be quick to support after you make sure that you're supporting the regulatory responsibilities for that industry in each country that you're working in. Can you explain a little bit how QAD is uniquely architected to support those regulatory needs so companies can focus on that automation, that real-time data, and being flexible and pivoting on requirements?
Yes. So I'll talk about it really in two different perspectives. So one is the solution and application perspective, right? A QAD, I think, is well positioned and well differentiated in this market, in that we have the breadth of capabilities that life sciences manufacturers and their suppliers really need to drive those efficiencies and agility in their operations. So, obviously the automation within the ERP systems, right, and having real-time visibility of inventory and traceability of that inventory, but also the quality processes that are instrumental in this industry, right? So not only do you have the integration of those quality processes, right, and things from your CAPAs, your complaints, your nonconformance, all that document management, how you're training your organization, when you need to make a change, how you're reflecting those changes in your documentation and standard operating procedures. So all that is in the system itself. And those are integrated solutions, as I said, within ERP and QMS, but also within the supply chain. I mentioned demand planning, right, and demand forecasting. Do you really have a pulse on the demands in your market in the different regions, right? How are you really optimizing that capacity to match that demand? So all that integration in terms of a solution perspective, I think, is key in what QAD brings to the table in this important industry. And then the second perspective I'd offer on that is the architecture itself, right? How it's not only built today, but how we're really evolving that architecture for the future, right? Because, we're certainly watching the marketplace as well and the demands that are coming at us from a technology perspective. And we want to help ensure that we're going to be here for the long term as well. So we're also building our architecture with this change in mind, right? So we can be agile and respond to new applications that come into play, so we can have those integration points and so forth. But we are built single tenant today. We have a qualified infrastructure that we maintain so that our customers can ensure that they have the compliant, ready solutions to meet FDA and other regulatory regulations out there. So as a manufacturer, ultimately, you're responsible for that true, validated system. But as a software partner in this space, we're certainly helping, ensure that, we're giving you as much as you can in terms of the testing and qualification and documentation that you need to have so that your final validation step is pretty turnkey.
I love how you broke that down into different areas because one area talks specifically to the IT requirements and the regulatory requirements. The other area talks about specifically how once you get past that point, what's the operational and the executive level or C-level needs to be able to run a business in today's environment with all those different avenues, right? The QMS, for example, since we deal with more of the SMB market as they grow, a lot of times you're scaling into a certain quality size system. And I think you highlighted really well there when someone's looking, depending on who listens to this, one of those two areas usually covers what the initial requirement or reach out is when someone wants to learn more about how QAD could possibly help them in this vertical and on their path. Because obviously, as we know, when you choose enterprise solutions, it's a long-term relationship, and it should be, because it's an investment in not only in the success of the company, but an investment in the future of the organization and their growth paths, which makes QAD keenly adapt to a lot of companies, because whether you're in that small SMB space or whether you're in 450 plus sites in 60 countries, you have that ability to scale, right? It's the software moves with the customer, which is not necessarily the case in most platforms.
And it's interesting because, a lot of people, other technology companies and new technology companies are popping up, seems like, all the time. And everybody wants to be part of this, um, exciting industry, right? But it's a lot harder than it than it seems. So no, you need a trusted partner, you need a trusted advisor that can help make recommendations on where you need to invest, like you said, initially, and then as you scale up. You don't need certain capabilities right out of the gate, as you said, right? If you're a smaller company and you're just trying to get a compliant product sold out the door, and yet leveraging the technologies to help you do that, and then you can certainly grow from there, and we can certainly help advise you on that path. Absolutely.
And Jennifer, this is the unique part about the relationship that I love with QAD, and that I really adore working with you on, is the fact that when we deal with the customer, it could be pre-revenue generation. It could be, obviously they could have already gotten funding, and we're moving down the path of looking for production because they were using a CMO currently. There's so many different areas and steps along the way they could be in, and we pride ourselves at Strategic of having senior consultants that come from industry, so that they're not only shoulder to shoulder with the customer going through the implementation, they understand the product, but also that when we talk about thought leadership past the person that I'm helping on the ground floor, boots on the ground, that when we sit down on the executive team, we start planning like the next 18 months, we have a resource such as yourself and such as QAD that's forward thinking, that we can start looking at what does that 18-month, what does that 3-year plan look like? Are you using CMOs? Are you going to be doing this more in-house? What does that documentation look at? Demand planning. I mean, there's so many pieces of advanced software that they can take advantage of. It's nice to have that all-encompassing, for the most part, in one provider.
Yes, and we certainly come at it from different angles, as you said, right? Whether you're a contract manufacturer, we work with, we have a number of customers that are strictly in that contract manufacturing space, or whether you're the brand, company directly producing the product. So, and how do you really connect those two players together sometimes, right? And how is that architected, and what's the best practice there? So we come at it from a lot of different angles, and we can make recommendations on best practice, regardless of where you're coming from. We work with also very large manufacturers as well, so we can certainly help position them in that broader scope as well, right? As you get into the 10, 20, 30, 40 plus site environment, really, how does the system need to be architected in that way? So no, we're certainly here to help in any way we can, and provide that perspective from those different areas. One example I was going to mention, as we talk about both the IT world and the solution side of things, right? Those two worlds oftentimes don't always connect, but again, I think just based on my experience and what I've been involved in recently, I'd love to share, just a couple of those. So we're working with a mid-market medical device company, and we have this what we call 24 essential processes for supply chain. And it actually started from one of our leaders in the automotive industry, Terry Onika, who's literally, wrote the book on automotive OEM
Oh, love Terry.
and supply
Absolutely.
chain manufacturing. But we have taken this to our medical device prospects, and they've really come at it with eyes open as well, because even there, obviously there are differences, there's a lot of similarities in the challenges, when it comes to supply chain operations. So when we were talking to the IT group within this medical device company, they said, what, we actually hadn't considered supply chain as we, think about our manufacturing operation. I mean, they were very heads down, focused on, okay, manufacturing, operations, execution, systems and inventory and, customer management and that sort of thing. But and they of course considered quality, but they really hadn't thought about supply chain. So they, we brought in the supply chain team, and they brought in this whole different perspective that maybe we should be thinking about how we're processing and what lead times are and kind of inventory requirements and delays and how we're kind of taking all that into account. So anyway, it just helped them understand, we need to really think larger than just kind of our traditional, mode of thinking. And I think we run into that. That was just a minor example, but I think we run into that time and time again, where we can come in and provide perspective on, we're thinking about it this way, but have you really thought about it, in a different way? So I would say if there's, one, recommendation that I would have for folks, is just, certainly focus on your task at hand, but also be open, to some additional perspective and ways of thinking. So you can potentially consider things that you hadn't, before. And I think there's a lot of, again, operational efficiencies that can be gained there, costs to be saved, and things of that nature.
I mean, I think in this post-pandemic, as you said, supply chain has become more critical, even if it's not something that would be typically looked at by that industry. So, being able to offer that different thought leadership, and hey, have you thought of this as you're looking through the maybe your 8 major points of what you're looking at for quality, like you said, document control. There's a lot of efficiency gain, and it's when you have that type of rapport with people and are available for people to utilize. I mean, I know we get to bump shoulders at every user group and event that are out there, but people need to realize that your knowledge and your team's knowledge of and capability that are there, people need to really we need to make sure that we're networking and we're keeping tabs on this, because if we're not utilizing it, it's really a shame, because it's out there for all of us to do better with, right? And understand, and vice versa. You're gaining knowledge from them as you're giving them thought ideas, and it helps evolve product and move change. It's great to hear that Terry is having impact in multiple verticals, because I started off in automotive and absolutely just adore what she's done at MMOGLE and leading supply chain and capabilities there, and now it's transitioning to other verticals. It's a neat process.
Absolutely. I think that's the other, takeaway here is that, again, be open to partnership and collaboration. If anything, right, the another kind of key takeaway from the pandemic, right, and our new virtual worlds is, I think we're, more connected and open to collaboration across, industries, as an example, and working with, people that we never thought we'd work with before. Even in industry, I've seen a lot of collaboration amongst, once seen as competitors, right? So there's just a lot of learning and lessons that we can take. So yeah, I think there's some great benefit to that.
So, I probably could talk to you for an hours regarding customers and, I'm saying the different things that we've seen come up and the crazy stories we have. I want to give one more possible story, if you've got one on people you've worked with and a benefit that maybe someone hasn't thought of. Wrap up with something. What value statement or what value idea do you want to leave in their heads as they listen to this before they reach out and connect in the future? And then we'll probably set up a secondary one. I have an idea with a customer, which I think we both know, and bringing them both back on and having a little Q&A session with them with how they're utilizing QAD to advance their product and advance humanity for that matter. But I know we want to keep these in 20-minute segments. So I want to go to you next and say, I know you had a couple of stories. Is there anything else you want to share before we, wrap up with a couple of closing questions?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk all day, like you said, about these topics, but I would just say, stay connected. I'm involved with different, regulators and customers all the time, so I'm learning as much as I can, and I'm here as a resource to share. But changes are coming, they're amongst us, and there's just so much opportunity to really drive this industry and help patients. Right at the end of the day, we're here to really bring new technologies and therapeutics to patients that need them the most. So, stay connected. I think FDA's got a lot of great changes that are coming and that will benefit manufacturing. CSA, this whole move to computer system assurance is a huge opportunity for manufacturers and something QAD is investing in heavily. So, we can certainly talk about that another time. But yeah, I look forward to, sharing additional stories. We've got great customers out there that are doing amazing things. But QAD is certainly here to help our customers, and we're here for the long term. We've been invested in for a long time in the life sciences vertical and medical device and pharma and biologics, and we're here to stay. So
that's awesome. It wouldn't be my job if I didn't have to ask and say, do you have anything you can leak that's coming out that people might not know about yet that's coming? I've always got to ask a little bit, right? Is there anything sneaky that you can let out?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great investment. Obviously, digital transformation is happening within our own customer base, but QAD is certainly investing heavily in our own infrastructure. As we talk about agility and responsiveness, time to market, right? We are certainly building out additional functions and features that allow our customers to leverage our solutions. So, keep an eye out for a lot of, really exciting things to come on that, when it comes to integration, right? Being able to plug and play with additional solutions as quickly as possible. And also, the upgrade paths. We hear a lot about, with cloud, life sciences customers have been, reticent to move to the cloud. They were, unsure, but we're always a bit of a laggard when it comes to technology adoption, and rightly so, right? But I think there's a lot of, wonderful things that are coming that will enable us as manufacturers to be able to reap the benefits of all these great, new applications and technologies that are coming out, so we can turn those benefits back to our patients, our customers, right? So yeah, stay tuned. More to come on all that.
I love ending with a little bit of a cliffhanger like that, and it is an exciting time for us, especially when we start looking at more and more of those that are on the on-premise space moving to the cloud and speed to market. So, to be honest with you, half the clients I have that are new are actually shocked. We're about half the time to market, and that's with validation. So I think it's a critical part that as we look at these new things coming out and we put these plans forward for customers for upgrades and moving to the cloud, QAD's ability being, half of what our competitors with all these capabilities is just it's a game changer, especially for when you talk about agile. It's an awesome piece, not only be agile, but also be fast when you have to make a major investment or an acquisition. So great stuff today, Jennifer. I want to thank you so much for joining today, and I look forward to scheduling us again in the future, and maybe we'll narrow it down to one or two really good stories and bring one of those customers in so we can have one of those, not the heartfelt ones that make me cry, because we have too many customers that do some things for saving people that are hard to watch marketing wise, but we'll pick a good story and we'll make it happen.
Sounds great, Andrew. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. Have a great day.